My name is Lauren McClellan, and I'm going to present my flipbook on Frederick Douglass. Early life. Frederick Douglass was born a slave in 1818. A slave is someone that is owned or controlled by another person. A lot of times, slave owners viewed them as a piece of property, like a dog or a horse. Frederick Douglass had several slave owners throughout his life, but the one he remembered most were Hugh and Sophia Auld. As a young boy, Frederick played with their son Thomas Auld, and Sophia Auld began teaching him how to read. Frederick loved to read, and he was thrilled that he was getting to learn. One day, however, Hugh Auld said Sophia Auld could no longer teach Frederick because he would learn about freedom and not be satisfied as a slave. Freedom. After hearing this, Frederick thought, freedom? What's freedom? And why doesn't Master Auld want me to know about it? Frederick realized that the only way he would know this is through reading, so he decided to teach himself. He practiced his writing with chalk on fences. He traded bread with poor white boys who would teach him what they were learning in school. He would even sneak into Thomas Auld's room and secretly read his books while the Aulds were away. Frederick Douglass quickly learned that knowledge is power, and he wasn't going to let anyone take that from him. He learned that there were black people in the United States that weren't slaves. They had all of these freedoms Frederick had never dreamed of. And Master Auld was right. Once he knew about freedom, he wanted it more than anything else. The Great Escape. Master Auld had Frederick work long hours in a shipyard in Baltimore, Maryland. At the end of the week, Frederick would get paid for his hard work, but he would always have to give his hard-earned money to Master Auld. Again, Frederick thought to himself, how is this fair? I'm doing the work, but he gets all of the money. That freedom word was ringing in his ear again, so Frederick decided he no longer wanted to be a slave. He was going to escape and be a free man. Frederick dressed as a sailor, borrowed a free man's papers, and he boarded a train heading north. Once he crossed the Mason-Dixon line, he was a free man, and he decided that he needed to fight for those who hadn't been so lucky to escape to freedom. The life of an abolitionist. Frederick Douglass made it his life mission to work as an abolitionist, and once he was a free man. An abolitionist is someone who wants to abolish or get rid of slavery. Frederick learned to express himself in many different ways. He became the editor of the North Star, an abolitionist newspaper that explained why we should get rid of slavery. He traveled around the North and delivered abolitionist speeches to angry crowds. He was devising plans of how abolitionists could make a difference. Douglass was also a conductor on the Underground Railroad. He provided clothes, food, and shelter to fellow runaway slaves. He even risked his life by writing his own autobiography about his personal experience as a slave. He thought it was important for people to get a clear view of what life as a slave was really like. Cultural change. Frederick Douglass worked his entire adult life to bring about change. He thought that everyone deserved to be treated fairly, regardless of skin color or gender. During the Civil War, Douglass worked closely with President Abraham Lincoln. He discussed his concerns about slavery and unfair treatment of African Americans fighting for the Union Army in the Civil War. He also worked closely with Susan B. Anthony. They cooperated for both women's rights and the rights of African Americans. Since she grew up in a Quaker church, she shared Douglass's belief that everyone should be treated equally, and together they were going to work to bring about change. I hope you enjoyed my flipbook about Frederick Douglass. The end.